Good evening, and you will notice I'm not paying adequate attention and haven't actually started Dwarf Fortress yet. Here it is. Yes, that's appearing correctly. Good. At least this laptop is reasonably fast. Oh yes, the computer we're on is now equipped with an entirely new motherboard after an incident earlier in the week where it suddenly, surprisingly, stopped working at me. So hurrah for Dell's on-site warranty. And I should move that IRC window down. No, not that window. That window. Yes. I discovered a useful feature of putting commercial music over my over the please wait screen, which is that it means that YouTube politely gives you a remove the please wait screen from the start of my video button in the form of a we're going to demonetize your video unless you press this button, which will cut out the bit with the copyright music in. It tells me what it is, and that it's sending my sending any money it makes from adverts on my video to well, presumably today to JYP Entertainment.
If you played your own little jiggly music and so would it go? I don't know. This is fine.
Yeah, it doesn't do this for the Dwarf Fortress theme, for instance.
However, if you play Bach, which you can perfectly legitimately do because the actual music is out of copyright, performance of the music is out of copyright, then you can get done for sounding too like the recordings of
other performances. Yes.
That's a copyright.
Yes, it notably did misidentify the Pixie track as the vocal version rather than the instrumental version last time.
I think it was Big Train out one before last or something, where
anyway.
It was on TV with the track timings and gave me a completely different album with exactly the same track timings. So I think it was searched by track timings.
Yes, indeed, that's the usual way to do it.
But there was an exact match apparently.
One might hope that sensible record labels would check. And add an extra 64th of a second or whatever the frame size is. Anyway, back to Dwarf Fortress. What were we doing? Yes. So Claire has asked Necromancer update. No excitement regarding the Necromancer so far. We have one Necromancer. Our Necromancer is writing books. They're all books about things other than the secrets of life and death. We have a visiting Necromancer. We have a slab with the secrets of life and death on it that no one is reading, even though it's in the library. So yes, things are not yet hugely joyful there, and I think we've run out of parchment. So the Necromancer scholar will have to wait for the next shipment of parchment before they can write any more. And we've run out of wood again. But I have a plan. Yes. Where did this slab come from? The slab was used by someone to beat something to death, wasn't it? I have a feeling the slab didn't actually come with the Necromancer. It came with someone else. Yes. This slab turned up and. Satura, the fated death, a native copper slab, is covered in coyote blood because, well, it's been used to... Oh yes, an Etin turned up. Yes, the Etin turned up carrying this slab. And so the Etin used the slab to beat a coyote to death, and then we, with the help of some slightly more sensible weapons than a native copper slab, killed the Etin. And therefore we have what, as far as I can tell, is a Necromancer's slab that has been stolen from the Necromancer by an Etin, which brought it here, used it to kill a coyote, and then we took it off them. So, yes, it is a slightly odd object, and is currently covered in coyote blood. Possibly we should have washed it or something. But it's erected in the library here. And our chief medical dwarf necromancer type is currently discussing water displacement. Even though the two people on the same square as him are attempting to discuss the lunar and solar year. And yes, we have a visiting dwarf necromancer who has heard that our library is the place to enjoy oneself. As far as I can see, our library is the place to sit on top of other people, all of whom want to read books, but or at least all of whom wish to discuss either water displacement or the calendar, or to read. We have a visiting scholar who's reading the Mysteries of the Flask. And someone else reading The Journey into Scraping, which I have a feeling we had a copy of in the Nose Tools. So is Astvesselskard our... No, Kogsezuriken is our local scholar. So I think these are mostly imported, though we don't actually get told where they came from. Quite a few things written by Astvesselskard. Who's Astvesselskard? Are they currently here? Ah, right, yes. One of our visiting scholars has written most of the books, I think. Anyway. So we have this problem that we've run out of wood, and I have a plan for that, which also involves a feature of Dwarf Fortress that I have not demonstrated before. Because over here we have a great big lake, and it's got a lot of trees growing in it. So if we could get the water out of the lake, we could fell the trees, and we could also mine the various gems that are kicking around there, and generally get more stuff. But to do that, obviously, we need to get the water out of the lake, which is quite difficult. And we need, in particular, because the lake reaches the edges of the map, and so if we just remove the water somehow, it'll flow back in from the map edge, which is indeed how our water supply works. But our water supply conveniently uses a different lake somewhat higher up over here, so we'll keep this lake and drain the other, and try to drain the other one. So what we need to do is to somehow wall off part of the lake, wall off the edges of the map, so that the water doesn't come in. And the way to do that is by causing cave-ins, and that's going to be an entertaining piece of engineering, I think. So I think what I want to do is to start setting up mechanisms for dropping cave-ins across the various entrances, various connections between this lake and the rest of the world, and then we can drain the water out of it. One tricky thing, it now occurs to me, is that it may be, I don't know quite how cave-ins and trees work. So I'm not quite sure what will happen when we drop a cave-in through a tree. So I think we should start in the southwest corner here, and essentially our aim is to cause a wall to appear like I don't know quite where, let's say along this row, by dropping it in from above, which is going to be quite a bit of digging. And I've done this in other forts, but I haven't yet done it in any of the ones I've streamed. So, how are we going to do this? We're going to want to dig a... So in order to do this, what we need to do is to dig out above the above where we want to drop the thing through, a room that will extend. Let's switch this to marking only for now. We're mostly sketching here. So we dig out something like that, and then actually what I should do doesn't need to be quite that big. So essentially we dig out, our overall plan is we dig out something this sort of shape. So we have a room, a long thin room with a horizontal beam of rock through the middle, and then we arrange something that temporarily supports that, and then we remove the support, and that horizontal beam of rock crashes through the floor and goes down and stops when it reaches the bottom of this lake. That's the theory anyway. So this is obviously a fairly complex process to get right. But like I've done it before. Well, not for walling off caverns, but for dropping things on incoming demons. I think I had some other uses for cave-ins as well. Right, so that's built us a nice staircase up to the levels where we're going to be actually trying to make the cave-in happen, and I think we then start digging from the top. So we say let's first dig out the upper floor and then assemble whatever mechanisms are necessary. Yes, I mean, in theory, we might be able to pump water out fast enough to clear enough space to build a wall. But, like, we haven't done cave-ins yet. So let's try those. Right, so I think that's the first set of digging marked. Yeah, you can see we're out of logs. So now let's just have a quick look around. There's a live helmet stake, but that's on the upper level, so we can probably not worry about that for now. So yes, we now can't smelt anything, we can't make any beds, and we can't make anything out of silver, and we can't make any weapons or armour until we get some more wood in. Like, we may eventually have to resort to going down into the next level of caverns just to find more wood. But we'll see. So what's the food situation like then? We have so many prepared meals, it looks like. Yes, right. We are in no danger of running out of food. Oops. At least as long as you like Crundle. or goat cheese. Finely minced, a superiorly prepared goat cheese roast made out of reindeer cheese, horse cheese, and goat cheese.
Yes, cheese.
Yes, it's very cheesy.
Jesus.
There is a slight problem, I think, that we tend things that you acquired at about the same time tend to end up being
Food together.
yes, cooked together at the same time. Because, well, they're obviously next to one another in the stockpile. Okay, that helmet snake is a problem. Has it gone and bitten someone? Not yet, because our militia commander is actually sensibly equipped. So probably, if we go, everyone kill that helmet snake. Yeah, that was quick. Once the militia commander knew that killing the helmet snake was their job, they immediately punched it out and then stabbed it repeatedly with a spear until it died.
So dwarf militia have absorbed the rule of armies everywhere and never volunteered for anything.
Yes. Even if you run into a helmet snake in the while out doing some other job. I mean, did charge at it and knock it over and grab it by the neck, but not actually use a weapon. Punched it in the teeth and knocked several of its teeth out, which might be why she didn't get bitten.
That seems like a high-risk strategy. It worked very well, but could easily have worked very badly.
That did enrage the helmet snake. Yes, could still bite, but militia commander was wearing leggings, and then kind of flailed at it, grabbed it by the tongue just in case punching its teeth out wasn't enough, and then we said, "Hello, would you like to actually kill the thing?" At which point she bothered using a spear. And that kind of killed it quite quickly. Like, not going to kill things with a spear unless someone is actually ordering me to. So, how do we build a support then? Right, the support, we just say here, use this, whatever stuff we have, okay. Though I suppose we are going to want a lever for it, aren't we? Which means we're going to need more mechanisms, so let's get someone making mechanisms. So have a quick look around our storage here and go, probably, well, let's just check. Do we... That doesn't currently have a butchery job scheduled, so let's... Those are obviously too small to be butchered, so we will dump them. We need more bins, really, because our trinket store is over full at the moment. Does that mean we're not cutting any gems at the moment? Okay. Well, in that case, start cutting green tourmalines, I suppose. And encrust some finished goods with pineapple opal. Right. No, that would not be helpful.
Why do you have pineapple? menacing as it does with spikes.
True. Yes, I did say pineapple opal. See? We have Radiant Cut pineapple opals. Look, we're managing to dig out some gems just while clearing space to cause exciting collapses of stuff into the water. So yes, once we dug out this layer, we'll then dig a trench around the block that we're planning to drop, after carefully checking that it will actually correctly obstruct the right section of water. So it'll be from there to there, which is slightly extravagant because actually that point there, well, yeah, we could. Let's remove that last column because it's not really useful. So we're going to dig a trench around the thing that we want to prop up, that we want to drop, and then install a couple of supports on top of it, and then we'll hitch the supports up to a lever. Strictly we only need one support actually, so let's make it one support because it's fairly small length. And a support is something that can hold a lump of rock in place, but which we can connect to a lever. And then when the lever is pulled, the support will deconstruct itself, and thus the thing that the support was supporting will be unsupported and will crash excitingly to the floor, or rather into the water, neatly damming one of the many entrances to the... Oh, did I do that in... Oh, ooh! That was not expected. Oh no, right, that has been dug, but it's confused. Yes, okay. Let us remove all the designations down here, because they're just going to confuse me otherwise. I drew that out largely so that I could check I was not being stupid, but now that I know that I'm not being... Well, okay. I don't know that I'm not being stupid, but...
You know you found no significant evidence.
Yes. So we'll dig that out, and then we need to wait until that support has been constructed, and then we can hook it up to the lever. Actually, we could set up the support on the bottom layer instead. Feels kind of weird to set up a diorite pillar hanging from the ceiling. Do we have a shortage of architects or something? Why is... And there's also no one building that. So let's, since we have lots of people and some of them don't have jobs, you should become an architect. We don't have anyone in the bright red engineers category, do we? Yeah, become all kinds of bright red engineer. What are these? Are those helmet snake teeth? Oops. Doubt we can do anything with them. We've probably got a pile of rubbish in the butcher's shop as well. Plus we are not getting through the bone as fast as we're making it, or rather extracting it from its previous owners. No, just engineers. Once they have their proper Claros, do they engineer bright red things? And the answer is no. It's just that's the colour that engineers appear in. Right. So that's support built. The lever is not yet constructed, so we will wait a bit. So here is our lump of rock that we are going to carve out from everything else. Here is the support that will hold it up until we pull the lever. There is not yet the lever that will be pulled. But we need someone to turn up to actually do the work of connecting that. And they're currently busy making the extra mechanisms I asked for. Let's cancel the mechanisms we don't actually need for this job. Okay, there is something being butchered. Don't know what it is. Apparently we're butchering a Crundle lower left arm. Probably not going to get much meat out of that. Right, yes, we are butchering whatever that is. Is that a forgotten beast? Yes. Yes, I think it was some kind of enormous snake. My military is reasonably competent at that kind of thing. Yeah. And I mean, they're not brilliant, but they're reasonably well armed and armoured against wildlife. Right. Our engineer is now bringing over a mechanism to build this lever, and then somewhat later they will. Then I'll ask them to connect the lever to the support, and then we can start. Okay, what's our gem situation now then? You've got plenty of pineapple opals. You've just gone and got confused over who owns. Fundamentally, we have a locking problem that we get too much contention over the cut gems, or rather over the cut gem barrels. So someone who has a newly cut gem wants to put it in the barrel, and someone else who wants to cut a gem wants to take one out of the barrel, And so they end up fighting over the barrel, and unhappiness ensues.
You should have a vertical shaft where you put gems in at the top and extract gems from some spigot on the next level down.
That, shockingly enough, that would actually work. It would involve the use of a minecart, I think.
Of course.
But yes, you could, because then you could arrange to have an indefinite pile of gems all on the same square that then a dwarf could collect the gems from. The only problem would be that you need to make sure they were wearing a hard hat, because otherwise they would be liable to head injuries from having gems dropped on their heads. So yes, you totally could do it like that.
Perhaps a more realistic approach would be a ring buffer, where there are lots of barrels and you go around, put it in the next one and take it from the...
Yes, that might be possible to arrange, I'm not sure. Excellent. That Forgotten Beast had a shell, which means we've got some shell material in case anyone decides that that's what they need for their strange mood. That lever has been erected, so we can now add a link up support.
A snake with a shell?
It's Forgotten Beast. They have weird things like that.
Yeah,
Right, so now we have a job scheduled to link up
I
that.
thought you were going toward it.
Support. So let's let that happen. Take this slightly slowly. It is now summer. We get humans in the summer, don't we? So that will be nice. So yes, this will get us one of the this will get us one of the entrances blocked off, and then we can do, if this works, because like I'm only about 80% sure it's going to work, I'm only about 70% sure it's going to work without killing someone, then we want to block off all of the other entrances to the all of the other ways that water can get in, and then we need to sort out a means of draining the water out. And we can probably do that with the cave in as well. That's not butchering anything, so anything in the supply of things to be butchered is too small for butchering. So yes, my hope is we have plenty of things, finished goods that we can sell when the humans turn up. Let's just install doors everywhere along here. Not that they're very useful because we don't have enough beds to make all of these into bedrooms yet. But still, there'll be nice bedrooms with doors once we have some beds.
And because there's a shortage of 30-minute supplies, I will end up taking 2 weasels.
I think there's some size confusion here, because I spoke to the size of 2 weasels, and the weasel isn't the size of 2 stoats.
Yes, but stoach is a shorter word, and also
True.
the planet is definitely a bit made by. She's a genetic modified weasel.
Yes, not all weasels are least weasels.
It's true. But these weasels are really quite small.
Oops, the pineapple opal tangle has happened again. What do we have in each of the gem bins then? That one is actually empty. So yes, part of our problem is we only have one bin that's got gems in it because you can fit so many gems in a bin. The other one is kind of surplus to requirements but is there just in case, but is yeah. And we can't make more bins at the moment because you can only make bins out of wood and out of metal, which needs wood. So we're waiting for that job. Let us watch the peasant hauling this mechanism which they barely understand. So what got cancelled then? That was just cancelling another encrusting job. Thank you, that's very specific. I think that's probably a goblin siege, which we're not really prepared for. Yes. Well, let's see if we can deal with this by simply locking the front door.
Oh, the goblin's going to try to get in from like outside in the open air.
Yes.
Well, that's a bit foolish, isn't it?
Fresh air goblins.
Well, I mean, it might turn out to be. We'll see. Probably for safety, I should thus also get my half-organised military to come upstairs, so that's the first things that the goblins meet. Right, we didn't get any sieges in the last fortress, did we?
No one wanted to come over land there.
They would get killed by the zombie rhinoceroses, yes. I'm just nipping down here to see roughly what state we're in because I may not see down here for a little while.
I mean, if you had been sieged in military, you could have just locked the front door and waited for the rhinos to deal with the problem.
Yeah, I mean, that worked very well against the wear monitors. Right, so here's our nice person sorting that out. Meanwhile, let's see. So here are the goblins. Here's someone coming to pull the front door lever. Oh no, no, that's not someone coming to pull the front door lever. That's someone delivering some trade goods. Yes. So they've brought 2 bowmen and a crossbowman, 3 lashers, and 2 spearmen and a pikeman. You can have a look at what they're carrying.
Flighty maligned as a surname.
Yes. Goblin spearman carrying an iron spear, which is a bit scary when we're mostly dressed in copper.
On the other hand, one of them has poison raw as a surname, which is much better.
Yes. Well, the silver pike is probably not going to be very dangerous, even against copper armour. An iron whip, on the other hand, that's quite scary. So ideally, what will happen now is that about 2 of them will get inside the fortress, and then we'll close the gate on them, and thus we'll be able to pick them off. Yeah. No one seems to be coming up to operate the gate, though. Oh, here comes someone. Ooh, might work. Oh, all of them are still outside. I mean, we can just leave them out there. I mean, after all, that is kind of the nature of a siege.
And it's colder out there than indoors, so it might be more their problem than yours. The purpose of a siege is that there's a right side of the door and a wrong side of the door, and the besieging army sits on the right side of the door. They now got it the wrong way round. We've got enough food for decades in here. And we're on the warm side, yes.
Have you got enough water?
Yes. The water comes in through the caverns.
Okay, that's all right.
The goblins have no water.
If the goblins showed up via the caverns rather than via the outside,
The front door.
there might be more trouble. But
Yes. I mean, we can seal the fortress off from the caverns, but that is our food and water supply.
Right.
I mean, okay,
Right, which was what would make it the sensible side to
yes.
attempt to
I mean,
siege from.
we've got enough food for, as I say, decades, and probably enough water for years inside the fortress itself. But we have no wood, so we don't have as many. If we have many more berths, we won't have enough beds, as it were. If we have any more berths, we won't have enough berths. So I'm kind of going, well, the only reason we might want to open the front door is to let the human trade caravan in. So I'm almost inclined to say, let's just leave them out there for a bit. The problem is they won't. I think goblins don't actually need to eat for reasons. Because it turned out that when Toady 1 made the goblins eat, his goblins started farming, and he felt that having goblin farmers was just wrong. So the only way to fix this was to stop goblins building farms during World Gen, was to stop them eating, or to stop them needing to eat. But yes, I think they should probably. I think people do suffer a little from the cold. It's not very cold out there. Yes, I think I'm just going to treat this as an actual siege. Like, I'd quite like to get the dwarven caravan in, but I don't really care much about the human one. So it's quite tempting to go release that lot and say, well, have fun out there. Plus, like, I've got some work to do down here. Right, that job is still being worked on. Yes, the summer house. Well, the summer house is, I think, certainly isolated from. So we haven't actually. I could probably lock the door just on general principle, so they can't go in there. Because, it'll be warm in there. But we've paved over the staircase down from the summer house. So it's not like they can get in through the summer house anymore. They haven't, probably. Is on the map, yes. There. So he has come with a copy of the Great Stationary Sun, a book about how the theory of that the world moves around the sun, and a copy of Do You Know the Rising of the Moon? Is that the same author? I think it was, yes. Explaining how the moon rises.
The writing is stunningly self-indulgent.
Yes, well, I think that it didn't also say that about this one. Quite self-indulgent. So yes, I fear that this scholar may not be about to have a good day because they can't get into the fortress.
And when they try, they encounter goblins.
Yes, the goblins may find them. Those goblins don't seem to be interested at present. There's another scholar turning up, but yeah, I mean, don't turn up while we're in the middle of a siege. And in the middle of major engineering works.
I must say that as vile forces of darkness go, there's like half a dozen goblins going, "Arr."
They're vile, but they're not very scary.
It'd be like calling somewhere a hive of scum and villainy on the grounds that it had I don't know, couple of hooligans in it or something.
Right, so where are we? So is someone still working on that? No, right, so the diorite, that lever now has mechanisms in it that connect it up to that support, so we can now keep digging. So we want to go down another floor. So many scholars, all standing on the edge of the map wondering what they're going to do. All have brought so many exciting books. Books about the water cycle and about maps. And about rocks.
Tiger parchment?
Yes,
Yeah,
parchment made out of tiger skin.
Parchment out of tigers?
Well, that seems needlessly ostentatious.
Yes.
Well, if you happen to have a dead tiger, you might as well use its skin.
Yes. Making parchment is quite a complicated process, so I've never actually learned it, and this fortress currently subsists on buying parchment from passing traders. Well, I think we should get a combat report if the goblins and the scholars start interacting. Just clear out the ramps simply so that this looks prettier. So now we're doing the slightly dangerous thing of digging out underneath our big block of rock and hoping that that support works properly.
Something you hasn't heard before. Knowledge is known, Frankenstein's not a monster. Wisdom is not the beginning of brutality. That'd be great. It's true.
Right, so our miners have mostly dug out the, apart from one square, the space underneath our big block of rock. Come along. So, what we have here then is a large empty room with a thin floor separating it from this area. And then hung above that floor is a lump of rock which is only connected at the top by this slim diorite pillar which supports it. So the idea now is that when someone pulls this lever, that pillar will deconstruct itself. This lump of rock will then be unsupported and will go crashing through that thin floor and will stop, all being well, when it lands in the water down here. So let's find out if it works. There's no one currently in that room, so we're fairly safe. Just to be on the extra safe side, I'm going to forbid every object. So there's a pile of boulders on top of the thing as well. I'm going to forbid every object inside that room, so no one should have any cause to go in there. If I were feeling really paranoid, I'd put a door in the way as well, but I'm not feeling quite that paranoid. Right, someone pull that lever. Yes. Where's the pull lever job? No, someone has decided it's their job. I may need to work out what's going on with my government. Right. There we go. The game has paused itself because something exciting has happened. A section of the cavern has collapsed. So we can see that there's a lot of dust around now. And some mist. And some of the wall has been blocked. Right, well that was one of the things I was curious about. So we appear to have a solid diorite wall there and a solid diorite wall there, but part of the cave-in has been stopped by this tree, I think. I think those fungi wood twigs were just enough to stop that diorite wall falling through them into the water. So here is useful fact number 1. Trees block cave-ins. Which I had kind of thought might be the case. But now I actually have to engineer around that annoying fact. So we need to redo this somewhere else in a place where we won't have a tree in the way. Not when they're underwater, not when they're in water, I don't think. I mean, I might be able to build a platform out to cut the tree down higher up, maybe. I mean, our target here is to be in a position where we can get at these trees in order to cut them down, in order to use their wood.
Yes, and if you could do that already when they're in the water, then you wouldn't need to do this
Yeah.
platform.
So it might be possible, but I think I just find a different place where I can put the wall. So I think we can safely unpause anyway and see this enormous cloud of dust as the things fall into position. And so now what's happened at this level is that some of the floor has been punched through by the wall, and some bits have stabilised just above that just above the water, and we've caused a small wave of as the water has been displaced by dropping all of these rocks into it. And I think that's going to be reasonably safe. But thus we have a slight problem now of working out where we wall off. So we could go, and we can see here the various objects that were there are the mechanisms that we used to build that to link up the, I've lost all my words today, the support. So if we do the same thing here, it's interesting. Is that it's a small amount of water on top of our? Oh yes, of course, because when the wall fell down, it displaced the water upwards onto its upper surface, and then it will have spread out from there. So I think this column.
You got things into water in Dwarf Fortress. You get dwarf fluid dynamics.
Yes. Indeed, this is the basis of the device known as a magma piston. Because when something caves into water or into a fluid, a liquid rather, the liquid teleports to above the object that you just dropped in. As in the object, the lump of rock falls to the bottom. If you, say, drop a 100Z level tall column into magma, then the magma will teleport 100Z levels up. And if you've then arranged something to catch that magma at the top, you've just pumped your magma all the way up to the top of your fortress. Even better, you now have a pile of magma on top of your pillar, and if you can pour water onto that, it will set into obsidian. And so it will do this using less than the amount of magma that you displaced. So you can collect some magma and use the rest to ensure that your piston stays the same height all the time. You just repeat this and have the obsidian column gradually moving downwards, but growing at the same rate it's moving downwards, and you move magma upwards.
What gets rid of the rock at the bottom of the pillar to make it keep?
You dig it out. You have to kind of. I think the way you usually do this is you have a room down there that you can floodgate, that you can keep the magma out of, and then you go down there and dig out the bottom of the pillar. Open the floodgate to let the magma in. Drop the pillar by one notch. By 1Z level, which teleports one batch of magma up to the top, and then close the floodgates, drain pump the magma out again, dig out the hole, and so dig out the bottom, and so forth. It's a fairly slow process, but then so was my process involving minecarts last game, and it does at least not require any extra effort per Z level gained once you've built it. But we're not doing that. We're only dropping in things 1Z level high, and so the fluid mechanics is only mildly silly here. So anyway, what am I playing at? I need to do a small wall there, which we can't do because we can't get to that square unless we go several Z levels higher. Which we could, because our room that we drop things through has to be 3Z levels tall. Alternatively, we could just wall off those two squares by the same mechanism, which loses us a bunch of space, and two trees, but on the other hand is much more easily accessible. So I think we should attempt to do that one. So that trick worked, except that we now know how trees and cave-ins interact, which, like, I could have looked up, but science is fun. So we'll build a new staircase here. And we conveniently have a sample of what kind of thing we want, because we built one down there. So what we want now is to do the same thing, but at that point we actually want to do two. So that is directly over that gap, and that is directly over that gap. And actually we can mark these for channeling immediately. Right, so, oh, someone's got into a fight. Okay, well, the goblins have started meeting the local wildlife, but I kind of feel that the local wildlife are probably not going to come out of this well, given that the surface wildlife is coyotes. I think that one might still be alive. No, it's not. So there's a bunch of scholars accumulating on the edge of the map upstairs.
I suppose you can't, I don't know, find some convenient hatch mechanism to eject helmet snakes in the general direction of the goblins.
It's a possibility, though I suspect they're as efficient at killing helmet snakes as we are. So probably more so. They've got better weapons than we have.
Of course, this is also a biome in which there are storms, is it not?
Are what?
There are storms around here, aren't
Yes, I mean, I don't know that they're very scary, but
I suppose also summer.
yes, I mean, we have snowstorms, but
Yes, for this purpose, you don't just have a snowstorm, you want to like blow the goblins off the mountain down a steep incline plus lightning, sort of a storm.
yes, ideally.
Do they have lightning in this game?
I don't think so, no.
That seems like a missed opportunity. I mean, the number of,
I mean, you do have different kinds of clouds.
the number of ridiculous contraptions you could build with a like deliberate lightning conductor wired up to whatever strange magma contraption you happen to think of that week.
Why are you charging at one another?
God, them charging at each other.
Yes.
What's over the goblin lashes? That's confusing.
Well, I mean, I say that, but I think only one of the lashers was involved, which is slightly confusing. There's certainly some stuff going on down there. It's quite hard to work out what's happening because obviously everything's happening on a mountainside. I think they're mostly all having fun with the coyotes. So I don't think they've actually encountered the scholars. I don't think the goblins have encountered the scholars or vice versa. What's going on there then? We want to dig that out as well, please. Right, so you have a dingo woman scholar. Quite unusual and not very helpful. I mean, yes, we do have a helmet snake available, but it's probably not. If the goblins were to die, then we can totally steal their weapons. Well, we can't melt them down at the moment because we've got no wood, but we're working on that. Oh dear, have I been a stoat about this? Don't think I have. I think you should be able to reach those sites. So our mayor, we've ended up with the wrong mayor. Let's just sort this out. Replace our current manager with, following the usual practice, or my usual practice, our current mayor. No, not that one. And then we find the mayor's office and dining room and reassign them to the new mayor. Right. Our mayor doesn't have a bedroom. Do we have any? We presumably don't have any unoccupied bedrooms, so I'm going to have to kick someone out. Oh no, because that one hasn't been made into a bedroom yet. Right. Right, give the mayor a bedroom then. Also make sure that the other things that could be bedrooms are designated as bedrooms. Looks like they are.
What governs the indicator in the status line that says it's an official state of siege? Does that remain as long as there's at least one goblin?
More or less, yes, I think so. I think, well, at least until the goblins have decided to leave. I think it stops being a siege once they start departing from the map.
Oh, that does happen.
Yes, if you kill enough of them, the rest will flee. Certainly, I've experienced that.
They won't just get bored on the basis that it doesn't seem to be doing anything.
I don't know about that. I think they might. Seems to be something odd going on with these pillars. That one keeps getting suspended. Even though I think it ought to be accessible. Should be possible for a dwarf to come in from here onto the upward slope and up to here to construct it. Maybe you need a bit of ground next to the pillar. Well, let's try putting the pillar in underneath instead then. I'm sure that will be fine. Hang on. I've screwed this up horribly. At least fairly horribly. Maybe we can come up with a solution. No, I don't. Ooh. In that I'm one Z level. The floor, cavern ceiling is one Z level higher here than it was where I was working before. So obviously building everything at the higher Z level doesn't. At the lower Z level, the same Z level doesn't work because everything is now too close to the ceiling. I think we can work around this, but it may require a bit more care. I'm going to try installing a floor there to see if that allows us to set up the support. The other support is apparently achievable, so let's see that one happening. In particular, see what route this person takes. You walked through the first support. I'm going to unsuspend that and have another go.
When you walk through the support, put your hard hat on. Don't hold your head up, mine. It does turn out that the new Nook fan is slightly longer handle than the old Nook fan. Not quite just above my head if I turn it straight to the
Okay, I don't think we need. Let's wait and see if whether they're installing the floor or the support. They've installed the floor, right? Well, so yes, we have the slightly tricky situation that we are doing things at the wrong. I wonder if if our problem is that there's something that needed moving off this square and there was no other square to move it to, or something equally silly. Anyway, our architect is now coming to design this support, so. See, they didn't even use the floor. And now a mason will turn up to... No, it's suspended again. There isn't a forbidden item in the way, is there? No. There's a large claro opal that's now assigned to another task. Yes, now there's an item blocking the site. So that large claro opal needs to be collected because someone randomly dropped it there. Meanwhile, we can connect the lever up to the support that's already been constructed, can't we?
Can you connect levers more than one going to side?
Yes. Indeed, I'm going to reuse the lever that we already have. Yes, I'll deconstruct it eventually because it'll accumulate mechanisms like this, but.
Deconstruction of falling block. Goodness.
Our chief medical dwarf who's unhappy. Well, maybe don't discuss traumatic injuries then. Maybe you don't actually want to be a scholar. You're distracted from lack of decent meals because you don't need to eat. And therefore you don't eat because you would only eat if you were hungry. He wants to rule the world, but yes. Has killed 31 zombie grundles. Who was responsible for making 31 zombie grundles anyway?
Yeah, well, you clearly he was just trying to get his XP up.
But I'm going to take you off being a scholar because apparently you find being a scholar too scary or something. I mean, I can totally make you a lumberjack, but I mean, make you into a lumberjack. Right, here comes someone to build that pillar.
I'm not.
So now we can remove the floor that we built. There. And also, of course, link it up to that support as well. And then we want to carefully, like the previous one, we arranged that there was a nice closed room above the area where we were planning to drop the thing into, the rock into, and then we dropped the rock through the floor of that room, which meant that we weren't in any danger of losing dwarves down into the water or anything. Because I'm doing all this one level too low, we can't play that trick, and so we have to be a lot more careful about how we dig out the bottom. So I'm going to do this like a tile at a time, pretty much. Let's dig a corridor through there to help with this. Oh, and actually, of course, dig out underneath the lumps of rock that we're planning to remove. Hang on, what? No, no, no. Don't do that, you idiot. Point is that this is the layer of rock that's going to be doing the plummeting. Hang on, have I been an idiot? I have not yet been an idiot. Because we still have the connecting up of things to the built triggers. So let's watch the person who's installing that so that I don't forget what they're doing. And they've got distracted by eating. You're our only engineer at the moment. Be nice if you didn't get too distracted. Why, pray tell, is there a corpse in the dining room? Can we not, like, butcher the thing? On which subject there's a hungry water buffalo there, which we should probably turn into some meat before it starves to death. Now, apparently no one's going to do anything with the reindeer corpse. Let's stick it in the rubbish. How are things looking on the surface? Still a decent quantity of goblins out there. So this pillar is connected. It has a mechanism in it. This one doesn't yet, so we're waiting for the second link building to trigger job to be finished. Our mechanism installing peasant, who will shortly become an engineer, I expect, is currently lugging mechanisms around. He's passed by some fast-moving miners who don't have to lug mechanisms around to do their job. I'm being a bit careful about the ordering of removing things here. I want to make sure that the dwarves can't accidentally drop one another in the drink. So there's the mechanism is now fitted in that support. Now we slowly cut away the floor.
Tuesday.
Right, so now this pillar here has an empty space below it and upward slopes underneath it, around it, so that I think it is unsupported except by obviously that pillar. So now we're going to do the same for this one.
Oh, good luck with the confusing contraption. Good night.
Right. So the lever no longer has any job scheduled and has like a ludicrous number of mechanisms installed in it now. So when that lever is pulled, it will deconstruct those pillars. So we just need to dig away the remaining bits of floor that are holding the 2 lumps of rock up that we are going to drop. Of course, we could have done this simply by not bothering to install the pillars and having this digging be the thing that released the rock to plummet into the water. But having dwarves nearby during cave-ins tends to be bad for them. They don't like the dust; it knocks them out, and it tends to send them flying across the map, which is unfortunate when there's lots of deep water around. Verticals then. Alright, they're ordinary sized olms, I see. Right. As before, let us ensure that no one actually attempts to do anything with any of the objects around there. Jitten asks, will migrants arrive while you're under siege? I can't remember. I have a feeling they may do, and they may not enjoy the experience. Which is possibly a good reason for driving off the invaders. If they don't, then that's an excellent reason for keeping the invaders around, so that we don't get too many population. Anyway, is someone coming to pull my lever, as it were? Yes. Right, so we have another collapse. And that one has worked. Enormous clouds of dust and mist, but critically, there's now a nice solid wall all the way across here. See, so we can get this right with a bit of care. So where's the next accessible point where there are no trees in this section? So you can fairly easily, albeit with quite a lot of mining, set up something to wall that section off. So that's probably our next target. So let's see, we probably want to put the wall across here. So that's precisely where the wall wants to be. we sketch that, that is where the lump of falling rock will be. As well. So that's what we do at the upper level. And the big problem is we're an awfully long way from anywhere the dwarves can currently access. I think the Z levels are correct. So we're going to eventually carve out that. Oops, no, D. Doesn't want. I'm not. This is only marking anyway. Right. We're going to carve out that area, and this area. So I think that is correct. I'm doing this by channeling from above because that's the easiest way to do it. So the slightly tricky thing is, we can get dwarves to this area, can't we? Because I dug a tunnel underneath the water. So let's mark the staircase we're going to want. Oh. Let's deconstruct that lever and put it somewhere else. Partly so that we can get some of our mechanisms back, because that one landed on the wrong side of the everything, as did that one. All our mechanisms are getting washed into the side we're not going to be able to drain. So we will need yet more mechanisms, but we can get most of them from the by retrieving them from the lever we've already used. So then we're similarly going to need to do quite a bit of extra walling off to get this drainable. So there'll be that section at the north edge, that rather complicated area, I'm not quite sure how that's going to work, and that fairly simple area there. Yes, this black cap is going to be a bit of a pain to work around, because that limits where we can seal things off around that area. So that section is no problem at all. And that section is no problem at all, probably. We don't know quite where we go over here because we haven't explored that section yet. We're going to need to tunnel into that just to see what it does. Right, so we've now, yes, Yes, okay, yes, we still need to dig out that area, so that's fine. Now, cancel the old designations because we'll be doing this from above and we don't want any surprises. You can of course install the support below, which feels slightly more appropriate. Though it may mean we lose the support actually, so let's put the support above. If you have an open square here, then we'll build it out of the diorite we've got right next door. So now, down another level. Which is safe. Someone's randomly left a Crundlebone crown on top of this. Hang on. I've just been an idiot. You need to connect up that support to the lever, or otherwise this is never going to work. There's nothing that can be linked up. Oh, because the support hasn't even been built yet. Right, yes. Here comes someone to sort out that support. So now we should now be able to go link up support diorite, rough diorite pillar. slightly worried at getting a dangerous terrain message for any of these channels. Maybe this is just the dwarves getting tangled up with one another. So it feels like we may as well mine out the gems that we can currently see. Don't think that's going to be catastrophically harmful. Jism suggests Claire suggests that the crown was being placed up here as some kind of obscure political point, and Jacob suggests that plummeting rock is the new monarch of Iridinod, which is kind of a possibility. But my hope is that someone will come along and collect all of these. Right, one of my peasants has been possessed. I think this is another kind of strange mood. They've claimed the Craftsdwarf's workshop. Let's just see if they can manage to find all the equipment, all the stuff they need. They've got rock and bone. You need wood, do you? Well, that's nice for you. Wood is not something we're expecting. Actually, I think okay, if you need wood. Also, we appear to have a crundle infestation again. Right, in that case, because we need eventually to explore where this where the water comes in over here, which I think we have to do by digging like a tunnel in from here, and I'm wondering it's kind of tempting to do it diagonally so that we can get there faster. No. I'm getting horribly out of sync with everything. Right, dig. Let's make a really claustrophobic tunnel. Because that's how you press. Control P requires pressing the same control key that you were pressing record. Yes. They want trees, not factories. So let's tunnel through to here and see if there are any trees over there, because it looks like there might be. I mean, everyone's busy getting in wrestling matches with Crundles. Just send our military in the general direction of the Crundles to tidy things up a bit. Right, that's the Crundles basically dealt with. Rather amusingly, we seem to be somehow able to see what's going on here, despite not actually having broken through the wall yet. And there is a tree, which is on dry land. And conveniently, there isn't actually a way that the water can get out and can get in over there, so we don't have to wall off any of that. Oh goodness, is it autumn already? Well, we should probably stop fairly soon then. I'd like to set off our remaining collapsing thing, cave in, and get this artifact underway, and then we will finish. Also, like, this save has to finish first. Right, so schedule that tree for cutting, which should get us a few logs. Got like a small number of black caps over there, which are not very helpful. Everyone has been busy killing Crundles. So all the gems have been cleared out of there. That job has somehow ended up suspended. Because someone working on it was interrupted by a Grundle. That's fine. We can't. The giant trees will eventually grow, but it takes a long time. So the all of these little pink saplings all over the place will eventually turn into giant spore trees, not spore trees, tunnel tubes. But like that's going to take years. Right, so there are lots of people hauling logs back to the fortress, and one of them, or at least there's no one in the claimed what's that? Alright, that's an alpaca. Now what do you want? Alright, you've begun your mysterious construction. Excellent. Made out of diorite, crundle bone and tunnel tube logs. And more crundle bones and more crundle bones. Well, I mean, it's not like we have a shortage of crundle bone. We now have a small amount of wood available as well. Just want to wait for the linking up to the lever to be completed. No, that wasn't the button I meant. Unfortunately, accidentally disconnected the one person who knows how to make levers work from the job to actually link up the lever. Hope they'll get back to it. Oh, come on. I'm going to have to make someone else into an engineer merely because I've accidentally told my only engineer not to do this job. I mean, I haven't told them not to do it permanently. I just said don't do it right now, but they seem to have got stuck. Okay. Not like we don't need more engineers anyway. Or is the job now stuck because it was half completed? That's a mess. Oh no, someone's picked it up again. Good. Right, we have a diorite figurine of goblins. Quite nice. Not about the goblins who are trying to invade us, of course. It's about a completely different set of goblins. On the item is an image of a gizzard stone in Crundlebone. Okay, if you can tell that's what it is. So this is the dwarf who is connecting the trigger for the next cave in after I accidentally cancelled or accidentally deassigned the previous dwarf from the job. Probably got some beds, haven't we? Right, so that is now connected. Oops, that's what I wanted, yes. So now we can finish digging out around here. So no one seems to think that alpaca corpse wants butchering, so let's dispose of it. Operate the lever, because it's been a while since we splatted all of the objects in here, as we can tell from how many of them there are. And now there aren't. Oh. curse is our dwarven caravan has not been able to get in because the front door was closed because there were goblins, except the goblins have cleared off. What a nuisance. Oh well, we'll unlock the door. Meanwhile, move those ramps for prettiness. If I'd been paying attention and noticed that the word siege had vanished, I could have unlocked the door before the caravans decided to bypass us. Assuming they have decided to bypass us. Because that looks like at least a bit of a caravan heading our way. Indeed, what did it actually say? They said the wagons have bypassed our site. The things that they're bringing not by wagon are not bypassing the site, so that's fine. Well, I mean, it's not fine, but it means we get some of the wood at least. Right, so just clearing out the those ramps so that we can. I think our general rule here is all the wood, please. Like we care what kind of wood you bring. Other than that, I think just bring what you like. That's nice. We're going to completely ignore that and make what we want. That crown which has been moving around a bit, yes. Okay, so usual procedure of forbid everything in the area of the impending cave-in. So there's a nice big open area there. That is entirely surrounded by empty space and is held up by that one support. So if someone would like to come and pull that lever, here comes someone to pull the lever. Which Jacob says, yes, it was about when we got access to the wood that the siege marker vanished, so I could probably have unlocked the door then. Still, the merchants have turned up. We'll go and have a look at what they brought before we, at least briefly, before we stop for the night. But first, it's cave-in time. Bang. A section of cavern has collapsed, and if we're lucky, it's collapsed into the right place. Enormous clouds of dust everywhere. Random blind cave ogre, who we didn't actually get into a fight with. But that has nicely walled off all of that edge. You'll see that some amounts of the stone are still above the floor because the we didn't worry about where there were walls in the way. Rather curiously, a vast amount of diorite has ended up on this one square. Right, so that's that section walled off, and that section walled off. So the next job, which I'm not even going to start on tonight, will be to get ourselves over here and wall that section off, and wall that section off, and wall that section off. And then we have to work out how to get the water out. But I have plans. Right, so let's have a quick glance at what the traders have got with them. Is there an artefact in that bin by any chance, given its value of 20,000? Yes. But it's only a 2,500 artefact. It wouldn't actually... we'd still have a ludicrous amount of stuff in there, even if it didn't have that artefact in. Yes, we haven't got that much wood available because probably a lot of it was on the wagons. So we only get a small subset of what they were intending to bring. In particular, Beloved Pranks and the Dwarves. We may have to buy that. It's a book. Yes, we're definitely going to buy that. Like, it's an actual biography of a person in the world, and yes, and there's some nice leggings there as well. Actually, let's do this. Let's do the shopping now while we're looking. So we'll have that and that and that because they've only got a small amount of stuff with them. So going through this is not going to take long. That parchment. We want all the parchment. You want any really valuable food you've got, but yeah. Yes, we make everything out of crundle bones here, so yes, we've got forgotten beast bone earrings, I will have you know, not just crundle bone earrings. I mean, they're not just crundle bone earrings, I should point out. They're crundle bone earrings encircled with bands of exceptionally worked octagon cut pineapple opals, thank you very much. A silver ring adorned with hanging rings of pineapple opal. I'm not sure that's an entirely practical item of jewellery. And even forgotten beast bone earrings encircled with bands of well-crafted radiant cut pineapple opals. Quite expensive here. Right, what else did we want? We want all the wood, don't we? I mean, wood's cheap even when we tell them to bring, even when we tell them we're willing to pay a premium for it, and I can't accurately press up arrow and return in alternation this evening, it appears. Why is sandpaper wood slightly cheaper? This is a pretty decent amount of wood. Like, this might even get us enough beds. Right, what else is there available? Rope? No. We don't need ducks, do we? Do we have a use for a duck? I mean, we get eggs from ducks, but it's not like we have a shortage of food, really. Silver spear, no, but we'll have those. And that, if we can find... Yeah, we've got enough stuff to sell, don't worry. Right. That looks like about everything we want. Oh, yes, Jutton says... Buckets, bins are the pre-made wood objects. I think we're okay for buckets, but you're right about bins. Have you got any... I don't think... annoyingly, we can only get bins if we buy them full of... most of the bins come full of cloth, which we don't want. Are there any empty bins? Oh, we like fruit, don't we, that we can brew. Have some blueberries then. So I don't think there are any empty bins here. Oh, Claire points out there might have been a rum barrel somewhere in there. Let's have a quick look. Yes, if it's listed as a dwarven rum barrel, it will contain dwarven rum. I should go through this slightly more slowly so that I can pay attention. Dwarven rum barrel, we'll take that. So there's a leather bin, but that's full of leather. Might be cheap. Well... yeah, then we have to work out what to do with all the leather. I suppose we could buy the bin and then sell the leather back to them, couldn't we? Yeah, sod it. Let's buy all their bins and then sell all the rubbish in the bins back to them. That may not be entirely sensible. We can do it with the leather bins. Some of the cloth bins are a bit expensive. Because we'll obviously make a loss on this because they'll expect to buy it back from us for less than we bought it from them. Right, okay, that'll get us a few bins at moderately expensive cost. So they can have the whole of the whole of the contents of that bin. We're keeping the bin. Given how much this is, let's give them a profit of about 4,000. Right, this is not trading anything like all of our bits made of crundlebone. Wow, what? I'm going to have to inspect this helmet snake skull totem. Right. So yes, it includes a superiorly designed image of one of our dwarves settling here in green tourmaline on a helmet snake skull totem. And like it's the kind of value that would be almost a low-end artifact. A moghopper is a kind of fish. Right, so that's everything. Let's see if they'll take that. Right, and now we need to say put the leather bins back into the trading system. I don't know if they'll actually have to be moved or if we can now. And then say, please take this leather off our hands. Hang on, we'll have to buy something with it, of course. Did they have anything we wanted? that we didn't already pay for, stoats. Obviously we can buy back some of our trinkets, but that would be particularly silly. We should try to buy something we have a use for. Actually, what we could do is we could just give this stuff back to them, couldn't we? And that will make them like us more. Claire says buy a duck. Okay. We'll buy 2 ducks. So have you got any wooden shields, have you actually? No. Ducks and how to make them pay. Let's buy some arbitrary clothes because I think we're actually a bit short of clothes. Right, that will do. Yes, they make a phenomenal profit on this, but it'll get them to take the leather away. For some reason I accidentally didn't sell one item of Yeti leather here. Oh, we can't offer that to them for free because of course it was something they brought with them. Okay, yes, we'll keep the Yeti leather and do something with it later. Right, so we've traded some stuff. We've got a reasonable amount of wood. No one went mad. I do not need a cask of duck blood. We've successfully walled off some of the underground lake. We know that trees are awkward for that. But we've walled off there, we've walled off down here eventually. This one will be easy. You just do exactly what we've done already. This one will be mildly tricky and we'll have to pay some close attention to it. This one will be easy, so we should probably do the easy ones first. And then we just get the water out and then we'll have plenty more trees at our disposal plus a bunch more gems, and the gems are certainly proving quite valuable. So sadly dwarves have not understood the concept of black pudding yet. I don't understand how they've achieved this, but there we go. Right, black pudding is important. So I think that's all for tonight. We will continue with our water-based engineering in the hopes of draining all of the lake on Sunday. So good night, and we will see you on Sunday.